agenda. We got the minutes from the
November 17th.
November 17th meeting. So how exactly are we going to do November 17th minutes when that's 4 days in the future?
Oh.
That's a
November
really good
7th.
question.
Let's try November 7th.
Okay,
Pre-approved.
all right.
Oh, that's the school board. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Was it October 17th?
Might have been October
I
Yeah.
think that's what.
Yeah,
I think that's what it
exactly.
was.
Yeah.
Let's go take a look.
They weren't attached, I remember. So.
Oh, they weren't.
Well, maybe they were when Pierre sent it out or not. Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't
remember seeing
I
any.
didn't see them.
Excuse me.
So if we don't have a copy of those, then we probably should table that till
Yeah, put it
next
to
time.
next time.
Hold on. So, well, that's 16. Oh. Did we take notes last time?
I'm trying to remember when last time was.
Yeah, I don't.
When our last
Oh,
meeting-
shoot, I didn't
Isn't
bring
that
my
it
date
when?
book. If I
brought
brought it, I
mine.
would have.
Let me look. Actually.
When wasn't that it? 10/17 on your.
Let me look.
I thought you were in the wrong month.
Yeah, right there. Meeting 10/17 down at the bottom.
Mm.
Yeah.
If I get that.
I think I kept minutes.
I don't even see it on my calendar that we had anything on 10/17.
Oh, that's 16.
Yeah, it's 2016.
Okay,
You've been
that I
at this too
have.
long when you start.
I was going to say, it talked
Eclipsing
about the
years.
Catholic churches being yoked.
Yeah.
You know what? That
So-
was the Sheldon, in Sheldon, wasn't it? We had, wasn't that the supervisory union meeting that was in Sheldon where we talked about Act 46? That's what I thought it was.
Oh,
Oh, you gave a report.
Yeah, because I've got
It was
Sheldon.
Sheldon Library.
That's what, yeah, that was October 17th. So we wouldn't have any minutes.
So it's the SU board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we can make that happen.
well, that would be minutes of the SU meeting, wouldn't it?
Jason, I want to
And
throw
we don't
somebody's
need to
over there
approve
share.
it.
Right.
Don't throw them toward me. I'm not.
Connie?
No, thanks. I'm all set. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. I'm trying to.
Well, I'll take one or two, but I'm trying to be good too.
I've got the last Act 46 being September 28th at 7.
I think you're right. Then we went in October to present to the SU board.
Right. So how about if we look for the September 28th meetings minutes later?
Well, why don't we go ahead and my recommendation would be to table
So
the
moved.
approval of that minutes. You have a second
Just
on
take
that?
Yeah,
one
I
more
second
look.
that.
All in favor?
28th, you said?
Yes,
Nothing.
Aye.
October
Don,
28th.
you?
I'm not a voting member.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't told you want me to vote for him?
Sure.
I was recalling. Okay. Sure.
All right, so we've tabled the minutes for the time being.
Just want to open one more place.
And
Hard copy of the agenda.
can I jump in?
Yep.
Okay, so tonight's task, what we need to do, we have a debrief from November 7th vote. We've got Wynn giving some elementary school choice. We've got next steps to talk about preparing for how we're going to present this to the union board and then also to the school board, the Vermont State School Board, right?
No,
Vermont Board of Education.
Speaking of movies, whoops, no, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
You were on first.
That was good. So, is there anything else we're missing? The report, the final report, the presentation, the school choice, the debrief of the voting, and what it means. Okay? I think that's good.
Yep.
So, we don't have any public, right? So we're going to
Yeah,
skip
we're gonna skip
that.
over that.
Okay.
Public.
So probably we're on debriefing the voting results. Is that you, Win? Or?
Well, I'll start. Terry and I and the Swanton board had a conversation about debriefing the vote and really wondering what the 143 to 115 vote split in Swanton meant. And I said that I would do an exit poll. before I've had a chance to do that, I've been checking out Facebook, and Facebook has a pretty healthy dialogue about a lot of people thought no meant no and no really means yes. And they found out after the fact that they might not have known everything they needed to know. So I don't know that it was quite the separation that the Australian ballot results show. So I'll just put that on the table for rumination, and not that we can do a lot about it, other than make sure that on Australian ballots we do an extra special job of communicating what votes mean.
Did you guys end up putting, as they kind of suggested at the public forum, a what your vote means
Yeah.
posting up on the board?
We did, but I think the what your vote means, I think we had to be even more specific. Like I think our vote said you're approving what the school board is what the Act 46, what the union board is recommending.
Right.
For some reason, that didn't quite seem explanatory enough. So because they thought in their heads, if people are in a hurry, merge, no merge. Vote yes means merge, vote no means, so it's kind of like, you see what you see, right? Perception.
I would say, and I think we've all had that experience around, there was a lot of confusion around the wording of that.
And we had to
article.
word that vote that way, right? Because you can't have them vote on a negative, so we had to have them vote.
Right.
But that's not unusual on a complicated item. I mean, I've been going to meetings for seems like 50 years, and I've had this happen before.
Yeah.
Because people don't, people like it clean. Yes means yes and no means no, but sometimes you can't word that way.
Right.
Sometimes on school construction, the way you have to word it, it can have a negative impact. We had a bond vote go down one time like 10 votes or less than 10 votes. And it was clearly because the way we had to set it up.
Yeah.
It was when the state wasn't going to give any money anymore. So you had to tell people, if you do this, the state's not going to give you any money. So they figured, well, it wasn't a very good program. The state wasn't going to give any more construction money. Had nothing to do with it.
Right.
So, no,
Yeah.
I didn't talk with a lot of people, but I found no one who openly said they supported merger, regardless of what the vote was.
Yeah. Well, I think the other part is, and I'll take this one on, but that is that we, what I asked using enhanced instead of saying stay the same. We didn't want to say stay the same.
No.
We wanted to say enhanced. I think that was confusing for
But
people.
remember, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
And about who the wording was.
Yeah,
And I
we didn't
think-
want to shoot ourselves in the foot, but stay the same, then go to the state board and say, well, we're
We asked
enhancing
them.
it.
Yeah.
So it worked, but it is.
Yeah. Thank you. There was a lot to.
And it also says in the executive summary, because it was brought to our attention at the meeting, that our recommendation is that the Franklin Northwest SU enhance its current, it says current governance structure. But you know what, it's,
Nice thing
even
it
after
shows is that
explaining it
when you have
numerous
a meeting
times.
where you can talk about stuff
Yeah.
and get it out there, it was pretty solid.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I just have a question. So the scuttlebutt on Facebook,
Yeah.
well, so what was I mean, are you thinking that let's say it was an Australian ballot and you had the chance to explain it clearly like the other three towns did, do you think that more people would have been yes or no?
I think more yes.
It would have been more
Yes.
yes. I see. Okay.
More supportive, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
A lot of people-
staying in their current governance structure. Okay.
A lot of people, when they found out what it really meant, were disappointed in how they voted,
Okay.
and what they said.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Is there a lot of bad blood for the Swanton School Board about this one?
I don't think so.
On Facebook?
Only the board chair.
So I mean, on one hand, though, I mean, at least, was there any scuttlebutt going the other way that felt like,
I didn't see any.
okay? So I mean, on one hand, that's good because the overall vote still says yes,
Yes.
and so even for those who voted no, it might not be quite as compelling as it would have been had it been clear for everyone.
Right.
But that doesn't really change the outcome at least.
That's-
So you can probably feel good about that, I would think.
Right, and I'm actually thinking, if we look at it and we think, okay, well, let's say 10% of them were confused, so they voted the wrong way. That would apply to both or, the yeses and the nos, perhaps.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
It's hard to say.
But at least to the nos. Let's give them the benefit of a doubt.
Right, but if those are the ones that are speaking out on Facebook that they had wished that they had voted yes,
That's
then,
true.
So
have you decided not to do the poll?
No, I think I'm still going to do it. We decided to do what's called a random stratified exit poll, where you take every fifth voter from the checklist. There were 286 voters in Swanton, and just reach out and I guess we talked about postcard. We talked about calls. I think we decided postcard, and have it be stamped, self-addressed, so that people can just check. I think 3 questions and let us know how they feel. Otherwise, phone calls pretty arduous, and you have addresses from the checklist, but you don't have phone numbers.
Right.
It can be very time consuming.
Right.
Take it from somebody who didn't.
On the-
Grateful.
On the Highgate end, we had upset people that had to come and vote Australian ballot on the MVU question, and then had to come back in the evening. And
really?
yep, so I was at the polls the whole time except for maybe an hour, and yes, they were. They go, why do we have to come back? And some people were quite upset about it, and so I chatted with them, explained what it was. Not everybody was upset, but. And then it was, okay, I understand that, but it's too bad I'm not going to be able to come back, but I'm really in favor of staying the way we are.
Well, here's your vote difference. 175 people voted for MVU at Highgate. 104 voted for the Act 46. So the differences are those people that went once and didn't come. Well, some of the difference could be there.
Wait, why did the polls for MVU close before the?
No, they closed at 7 o'clock, and we started our meeting a bit late. So a lot of people came in
And voted for MVU and then stayed for the meeting.
after 6:30,
I see.
so they could vote for both.
That was the experience in Franklin as well, so we ended up actually starting at about 7:15 with the
So
school board.
I'm asking you all a question for the report, because I think that the anecdotal, the stories should go in as well, maybe, in terms of what people were telling you with the votes, as opposed to just the numbers. And I'm just curious as to what were there any quotes or comments that you can remember coming from the community?
I heard one, Tim Magnan, the Franklin board chair, and I got this secondhand through somebody, I don't know if it was Bob or who it was, that it was the most decisive vote that he's ever been party to.
That's a good point.
And not just in Franklin.
Yeah.
So,
That was the first time he'd
good
seen
evening. You
me.
might as well come sit right up here.
And unanimous vote.
When you're an author and you're an author status, you sit at the regular
I brought an
table.
updated version.
All right. I changed a couple of things, but not too much.
Right.
I spoke
Well, I
with
think
some
in
folks,
Highgate,
and They wanted a part of it.
Sorry, we were debriefing about the vote.
in Highgate, I mean, 103 people, that's probably 85% of the people who show up for a town meeting. So, so that I thought it was great turnout.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is it's the first time in recent history I've been in a room with a bunch of Highgate residents where it was a positive meeting and a very respectful meeting, and well, as the results say, everybody was on the
Nice.
same side.
I'm curious about Sheldon. I don't remember Sheldon's. What was Sheldon's?
87-0. So yeah, we and the Courier was there and took comments from a number of people, and then I read the article, and they actually didn't use any of that material. But they gathered that. I just happened to be there when they were
Interesting.
collecting that, and yeah, I mean, the vote showed what it was, but I told Wynn that it was really interesting that we had a number of people that either work in Maple Run or in Fairfield specifically that are Shelton residents, and they were some of the most vocal about staying in our current governance structure because of the bad experience that they're having.
That's interesting.
So anyway, that I don't know how much of that anecdotal stuff we would want to put in the report. I mean, I would
Yeah.
think that probably wouldn't be appropriate for it, but anyway, that was a little bit of the discussion. that we
I
had.
would stay away from anecdotal material
Okay.
because, I mean, I hate it when I do this, but as I said on the state board, I mean, thousands of people sat there, always nobody, you know, they're in a position where they're going to question. So that would be the type of thing that I'd let them dig that. I'd be prepared with information, but I would not initiate it. I'd let a state board member say, well, did you get any comments? This, you know, this seems like in Swanton, there might have been a lot of support for it, quite a bit. And I think then you can bring up the anecdotal comments.
Very good.
If you put it out there, I think you take away part of your offense.
Yeah, I agree.
I know some of the state board members pretty well, and I just think that we give them our pitch, and
That's good.
they let them do their jobs.
We got a job to do, let's do our job. and worry about
I would agree with that as
I think
well.
that's a good point.
I don't
I think
think
the-
we should ignore it, I think we should be prepared. Whoever goes should be prepared, but I wouldn't put it up front.
There, as far as in Franklin, there weren't a lot of comments from the public after. Once the meeting was adjourned, people pretty much
That's good.
left in a hurry, but I think the numbers, 170 and 161 to 0 in both votes,
That's
kind of
pretty
speak for
good.
themselves.
They do, rather. So just to make sure, because I know we're kind of, you know, I know you have to leave for another meeting, Win, and we want to make sure we get everything done tonight that we need to get done. I just want to re-emphasize a couple of things that we have to do. And I realize at first, well, the main things to do tonight, it appears, are talking about what you all have come up with in terms of the school choice procedure, etc. Talking about the final report, how we're going to refine it, and talking about how preparing for the union board meeting in November. I think that that last piece, which is the state, I think that can come after. I think right now we have more of a, I mean, it should be interwoven because that's our ultimate end point, but to make sure we leave tonight successful, we might not be able to get to that as much. And we might change things based on what happens with the union too. Board. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay, then let's go ahead. Should we move over to the school choice procedure?
Okay?
Now, I would think that we're not in a position at this point to finalize a procedure for that without input from the local boards and input from, I would think the SU board would want to weigh in on that as well. My thought is looking at prior 706 study reports and recommendations that have been voted upon and approved by the state board. They didn't get into the level of detail onto how things were specifically going to get done. They were more at a surface level. We are going to do this without getting into the weeds on how, and they were leaving that to the new board to figure out how to make that happen.
So basically-
My sense on this is that we're recommending that this get done and that we kind of put that back to the SU board saying this is what we want to see happen and come up with a well-formed plan rather than something put together quickly just to get it into the report.
So in the report, it says that our commitment to research and implement school choice, pre-K 8, pre-K 6. So I agree with you, and I think the local boards need to have a conversation about this. I don't think we can make a good decision if we don't know the finances of how that works. And I don't think Maple Run is the right model for us because they have one pool of money and we don't. So I think that's a significant difference. And so I agree with you.
So I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that you don't want to cover that in this meeting, but it looks like that what Jay and Wynn have prepared? Or are you saying that to go to the? I'm not quite sure I understand.
Well, the language on the agenda is to finalize the
Here.
school choice procedure. I don't think we're in a place to finalize that. I think we're in a place to make that recommendation that we do that. And then I think it's incumbent upon the SU and the local boards to act upon that, much like our other recommendations, to make a well thought out and workable plan after proper data analysis and gathering. I don't think we have the data or the information right now to make a final analysis of that. That's my opinion.
Hypothetically speaking, I know I've mentioned this before, but if we were to extend Act 129 benefits, what's the first problem that we have? My thinking is that the first problem we would have is that we could see one school, let's say for example Franklin, might have 30 kids come to their school. We'd have to hire staff and so forth to accommodate that influx of students. So that would be one issue. We know that under Act 129 the money stays put. We know that under Act 129 the ADM remains the same. We know under Act 129 that busing is provided not by the schools but by somebody else.
I call it transportation.
So the big problem we have is a sudden influx of students in any one of our schools. So what if we were to, I think it might be interesting if we were to extend the requirements of, or the abilities described in Act 129, but with some stipulations. Kind of a blend of what you were talking about earlier, when you have 10 from one school and 10 from another. What if we were just say we're going to extend the provision of Act 129 but involve the school boards in making that decision on an individual basis? You know what I'm saying? So in other words, we can use the statute in our advantage by saying we're going to extend Act 129. The state's going to know exactly what that means. But we can maintain control of that by making a stipulation that upon agreement between the two boards affected with the transfer of students. That way the school board retains control to a certain degree. That would allow the prevention of a large group of students moving, like say for example, if it's 10% from Highgate, let's assume Highgate's 350 students, 320 students, that could be 32 students
No,
coming.
we only have 300.
But that could be 30 students suddenly, worst case scenario, coming to any one of our schools. That would seem like enough to have to hire. So like, for example, let's say, what's Swan, 500?
580 with early ed.
Yeah.
So that could be 58 kids come to Highgate. You guys would have to hire help. You'd have to hire, there would be all kinds of
We'd have to
financial.
we'd have to add
Yeah.
space.
So why don't we, on the surface of things, say we're going to extend 129 to the K through 8 level, but with the caveat that it's upon board approval.
Okay, so you said 10 students. I thought we were talking 5 students.
Well, I was just using Maple Runs as an example. You
Okay.
could do 10 or you could
Okay.
do 5 or however you feel comfortable
Okay.
in doing. But, it's just the idea that you're going to make the statement to the State Board of Education, you're going to extend the provisions of Act 129 through K through 9 is K through 8 is a very serious commitment that the state's going to recognize. But you will be able to maintain control by keeping in it your own version of upon board approval. Or you could actually go so far as to tell that, or place limits on the number of students that could come from one school to the other, or the exchange. It's sort of a blend of what we've been talking about.
I would think that along with placing limits on the number of students, you may want to have some sort of board level control over
Yeah.
the money.
Yeah.
Agreement between the two boards, because
that-
not all students cost the same to educate, and there may be cases.
That could be addressed in the previous recommendation in your AGS to create joint agreements. Remember that team to create educational opportunities, to review educational opportunities throughout the district. You could use the language in there to create joint agreements between your schools. So the two could be used in conjunction with each other. I think you would have enough protections in there to avoid having a financial impact on any one school.
I'd like to throw something else on the table. I know it's late in the game. I've been following a number of school districts in the state, interacting with people. It doesn't seem that even Maple Run, you don't hear too much happening in the early years. In fact, places that have voted to combine, I think Bethel, that area, and there are others, They have taken students from one town X to one Y for the middle school. They all go to one of the towns. The high school goes to another town. So I would think that if we're going to extend choice and be respectful of the people in our communities, send a message, I would start it at grade 5. I would say we'll make a commitment to extend school choice to grade 5 through 8. Leave pre-K through 4 and not make that commitment in our statement. Now, if the state board comes back and says, wow, you didn't go far enough, then we can revisit that.
You could do that, but I want to point out to you that at the pre-K level,
Well, we already have it at pre-K, so...
They already...
No, you're right, I misspoke about it. Quite a few places where they have had mergers that do impact closing school buildings or combining the middle schools have gone one way, and the high schools have gone the other way. It's just something to consider, because I think it's going to be a big step for our communities, and I think it's going to be it's complex. I support it. I really support the whole concept of school choice. With limitations and working out the financial details. But I've been thinking about this. I thought, maybe our proposal says we're going to extend it to middle school, which is either 6, 8, or 5, 8. I don't know.
I like the idea. I agree with it. I've got 2 or 3 backed up right now that if the board makes this decision, have younger than grade 5. In other words, a family wanting to build just across one of the town boundaries, but have the kids still go to the school they were already in. So,
Don't we already accommodate requests like that at the board level?
not quite to that degree, and not on purpose. Sometimes we do it by default, and I won't go any deeper than that. So,
Well, question. So, Jay, I think what everything that you just threw out there is pretty much what we've discussed before, and I personally I wouldn't even limit it. I would just
so I think it's going to make a really strong statement to the State Board of Education, saying, they're going to extend Act 129.
Yeah, the way I feel is that, and it's back to the beginning, is it really comes down to 2 different types of parameters, and one is with the amount of students, and the other one is with the money. And we've talked about that possible split of half of the money goes and half of it stays, which, again, I don't know what the impact of that would be. It seems to me to be a little bit more beneficial than all or nothing either way.
But if by retaining language in there that makes these subject to board approval, then you could dismiss the issue of money by setting a standard where 5 come from one school in exchange for 5 from the other, those sort of joint agreements, so that you should be able to craft language that would prevent any financial impact either.
Okay. Well, I guess that's what my question is then, is that, do all 4 of our, well, I guess all 5 of our schools would, do we need to have some sort of policy that's consistent across the board, or do we leave that to the discretion of perhaps 2 boards that want to have conversation about that?
That's a good point.
I think you're stronger if you have one that pervades all 5 schools.
Yeah, I think that's what I would be more comfortable with, is that then it's a clear expectation for everyone. And then all the boards are playing by the same rules. That way you don't have little side deals going on that
keep subject to board approval in part of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's right. No students.
That's a safety valve.
Yeah.
Right. That's the key safety valve in my mind, is that no students would be transferred without board approval, but with board approval, that we're still using the same ground rules for all 5 of our schools. That would seem fair.
So what I have here is kind of what's left over from our last conversation in, I guess it was October, and we talked about geography or some of the issues, the capacity of the school and capacity of any one grade. In other words, if we had 5 kids and they all went in the 5th grade at Highgate, it might cause Highgate to have to hire a new teacher. So the board discretion comes there. Available programs, parent employment, family circumstances, building a new home, all the things you see, sending and receiving board approval. and special education billbacks through joint agreements. And that's what happens at Act 129. The special ed gets billed back to the district of origin.
So you mentioned two stipulations, and I want to add the third one, which is, and looking at Maple Rose one, transportation is the responsibility of the student's family and will not be provided by students, which in and of itself will not provide equal opportunity for all our families. I don't, and I guess I'd like to see how some schools deal with that.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. I mean, in my mind, I don't think you should have to provide equal opportunity for this because this is outside of the normal. This is a benefit that's being extended.
It's not beyond a solution, because again, I'll go back to the joint agreement clause. The team that's going to be charged with assessing the educational opportunities throughout the school district. That joint agreement language comes out of 267, so that gives you some flexibility to cover some areas like that should you choose to do so. So if you want to make some sort of a joint agreement among the two schools, when you two get together to decide how this student exchange is going to take place, then you can use that to kind of massage the transportation issues or any other kind of issues that should happen come up.
Yeah, and
but
again,
it's important though that you maintain board control over all this.
Right. Well, and here, what I would think,
absolutely,
would be, certainly board approval, but it might have a clause about transportation that, the receiving school may or may not provide transportation based on availability and cost and so forth. So I'm just thinking, like, let's say there was a Sheldon 8th grader, for whatever reason, really wanted to go to MVU. My first instinct is, well, that's that parent's responsibility to get them there. But let's say that there's an MVU bus coming through anyway, where, then I would say, well, of course, why not?
That's what that last bullet, I think, says.
Yeah.
I respectfully disagree with that.
Why?
Because there are, for instance, let's say you have a student who is significantly hearing impaired and needs really special services for that.
Special ed pays for that.
Okay. But if we say transportation has to be provided by the parent, and the parent can't get the youngster to the school that has that, then that means the youngster's not going to get
In
it.
special ed, we would have to do that.
Okay, so how about if it's a situation which is not special ed, but that student still needs to be there, but can't because they can't
Bring that a car.
Right?
Well, right, but we're extending an opportunity. I mean, they wouldn't have that opportunity anyway if we weren't even discussing this extension of Act 129. And so I think that that's providing more possibilities.
So you can play the game if you can get there, but if you can't get there, you can't play the game.
But that's not to say that arrangements can't be made to provide transportation for the student.
Right.
I mean, that would be up to the two boards to decide, and it may come up to an agreement where the the homeschool might agree to pay for part of that. It could, it's not like we're shutting the door.
And if there's an accommodation for that, then that's okay. But if we go into it without not having that, then that would be a very difficult thing for me to propose to support. And granted, I'm only one person.
All right, how does this look, Connie?
Coming back to our earlier conversation, thinking what we're preparing for, which is the state board. A commitment to working a transportation solution that requires collaboration between the boards and assisting parents whose responsibility it is, or in some way assistant parents.
I added a sentence on that may
Okay, so.
may say what you're
Right,
thinking.
right.
Connie,
Yeah, I think that's good.
I drive a school bus for two Highgate kids.
Well, can I
I
just,
think it can be worked out,
Yeah.
because if you look at bus routes, I've worked in districts that had more complex than I think elementary here. There are buses that are passing each other. That's one of the things that the legislature said years ago, that there was some places where school buses were meeting and passing each other from two different towns.
No, we have that, we already have that, because we have a Highgate bus that goes down the Monument Road, and Swanton has a
Oh, there you
Highgate
go.
bus that goes down the Monument Road.
So maybe we work something out on that level if we have students who want to go to
can
school.
can I add something that I think might work for some of Connie's concerns? And that would be, I understand her concern about may agree and could decide and, this kind of stuff, that you're going to rely on personalities again rather than structures in place. And so if one school is getting 50% and doesn't have the kid, couldn't that school be responsible for transportation? I mean, couldn't that school somehow make it? I do understand the looseness of they may agree, or, it's individuals and personalities again versus structure.
Well, I think right now, Terry, we're talking about non-50% ADM. In Act 129 is no money changes hands. So maybe I ought to separate this. Because right now, this is a, oh, come on, fingers. So whether or not we do the 50% ADM stays and goes is a separate issue from if we did Act 129, these would be the criteria that the two boards would come together and attempt to agree on.
I'm not sure why you would separate those. Like, aren't they all the same parameters and
Pretty
protocols?
much. But in Act 129, you don't have to answer any of this. You want to go, you get in, first 20 in, go, and
They don't have a lottery? They don't have a lottery?
actually, that's right, yeah, it is.
Maple Run has a lottery
Yeah, and we do too. And so does Enosburg and Richford,
for high school, for
high school.
high school kids.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like for the sake of discussion tonight, that it's going to stay the way it is, and then when it gets to your board, there may be a bigger bump than what you're seeing tonight.
yeah. But this is the criteria that all boards would weigh in on. to
Right, that's what I'm
decide
saying.
Who goes and who
Okay,
comes.
so I want to know, so Jay has said that the money doesn't move with the student.
Right.
So that needs to be clarified.
Okay.
Is that, or is that not a requirement?
Well, it's up to us to make a recommendation to the local boards and the SU board.
It's just that the law, Act 129, specifies that the ADM stays the same and the money stays the same. So, if the boards want to make, I wouldn't recommend the boards making a decision that's counter to that. I would rather see the boards make a decision that through a joint agreement, you accept 5 students from, say, school A in exchange for 5 students from school B, those sorts of types of negotiations.
Okay, so make sure I'm hearing that. Are you saying that to be able to, there has to be an exchange, the same number of students have to be exchanged up to 5?
Well, that would be...
Is that what you're saying?
That could be something that could be discussed in a joint agreements between the two schools. You could make those requirements in those joint agreements. When the two schools sit down, say we got 5 kids from school A wants to attend school B, the two boards sit down and they can discuss that in those joint agreements about how that's going to work.
I couldn't support that, because I think I couldn't support that. But I can support, say, 129, but that we're going to take and put our local personal touch on and have our boards work out the 50-50. I hear what Jay's saying, it's just that I don't agree with it, because I think if I'm in Franklin and I got 2 kids that want to take and go to Highgate, and there are 5 in Highgate that would like to go to Franklin, I don't want to throw any roadblock in there.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that's the way I feel too, and that's why I felt like the
I like that 50/50.
50% ADM split at least
totally can't do
neutralizes
it,
that
but-
to some extent.
But it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Well, this is a supercharged 129. We got enhanced AGS, we can have a supercharged 129.
Enhanced it.
Wasn't there a school district many years ago, Essex and South Burlington, or something like that?
Montpelier and U32 used to have it, 1-for-1. And you had to go find your dance partner. The school didn't do it. They did it all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, for the sake of tonight's conversation and for the sake of what we're trying to accomplish here, what do we need to do this tonight? Like, I know you want some, it sounds like we have one person who would like to see a different language. And so it's going to be a small speed bump right now, but it could be a big speed bump when it goes to Highgate's board and they say we don't agree.
Not necessarily. It'll be a big speed bump there. It'll be a speed bump with one Highgate person.
Oh, you think so?
It may not be everybody.
Okay. So are we okay to move along, or what more do we need
Well,
to do?
it would be ideal if, as a committee, we could agree on what we're going to recommend to local boards and what we're going to recommend to the SU board.
I think that looks good.
Yeah,
I'll go with that.
Yeah, personally, I'm perfectly comfortable with
Easy for me, I'll look at it with you.
So there's 4 committee members that have a vote right now.
So I just took one thing off. Is this what we're talking about? We're not changing any money? Or we are?
No, we're
Putting the money back.
I
Putting
think
the
you
money
need to-
back.
You need to
Okay.
redo that.
So then I'm taking
Yeah.
this money out.
Yeah.
Now that we've said that, let me say that coming back to Connie's concern and transportation, I think there would be, this 50/50 might be reframed if a board says, look, we'll go 60/40 and we'll keep 40, we'll ask for 60% because we're going to provide transportation.
Okay.
But I think that if you want to leave it up there 50/50, or there will be a financial arrangement between the two boards. But
Yeah, I would
50/50.
add to the 50/50 or by mutual agreement of the
Yeah, right.
boards, an alternative arrangement. That gives you the flexibility to cover those.
So do you need a motion?
I can ask one other question. Is it possible that we could have more bullets about what is part of the decision-making protocol? Not that I can think of one right now.
I can, right there. Well, if I could spell it. Come on. There.
It's such an easy
The
word.
thing is, the SU board
My
may be
fingers
where that
went right
other
on the
comes up.
keyboard, but the problem was.
So I think you're right on.
Yeah, right. Actually, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, there may be other ideas that come up at the SU board that
Maybe the
we
best
haven't
point made
considered
tonight.
here.
Yeah, we don't really have the authority here to put it in place. The SU board has to.
Yeah, and
Well, I'm guessing too that doesn't each individual local board also have to agree to it?
well, I would think so, right? But I mean, I'd be very
Well,
curious
you
to hear
can't
what
commit
the
someone else's money.
well, and I'd be curious to hear what the SU board has to say about the money and the transportation. And I mean, very rarely do Connie and I have a sharp disagreement on anything. This is one where I'm, as perplexed as anything, that we're on total opposite sides of it. But it's interesting. So I'm curious to see how others would weigh in on
Yeah,
that.
that'll be interesting.
And are we still talking 5 students in and 5 out?
Well, it's okay because your side will win because I'm not a member of the SU board, so.
Well,
Toby might.
your fingerprints are all over.
I think 5 and 5 is fine.
And is that 5 students per school or 5 students per SU?
I think we had talked about
Per school? So as it's written? Okay.
So theoretically, there's the possibility of losing 20 kids over a 4-year period.
Yep.
Or gaining.
And I bet you it won't happen that way.
I don't think so
When you
either.
look
I
at
mean,
people who've had school choice, somebody did a survey or some type of informal report on this, And most students that changed schools did it for athletics. Or extra, I think they call it co-curricular or extracurricular, but you read between the lines. So I don't see it, but I do think it's a great opportunity for parents who work in other places and commute to have that choice.
I can't sit here and say that it's not, yes, it can be very valuable, there's no question.
Children do better in school where the parents think they're going to do better.
Pardon me?
Children do better in school where parents think they're going to do better.
Yeah, I mean,
If you think your kids will do better in school in Highgate, you live in Swanton, you know what? Your children will do better in Highgate than they do in Swanton.
It's called self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, sir.
And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think most parents in each of our communities want their kids to be in that school.
Exactly.
Especially the younger they are, the more important that becomes. And then as they get older, I think it does change it a little bit. But again, the only time that I've ever heard these types of requests is in some extenuating circumstance, and I think that's what we're trying to accommodate.
Do we say anywhere in here that this is just within Franklin Northwest? Because I think we should if we had it.
Well, a lot of kids headed to Colchester.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, that was.
I'm going to say it right here.
That's the way it was stated in our executive summary.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that this has it that way.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed your big gig.
It's all right.
That was really nice.
Wait till you see my mugshot.
Oh my gosh, on the beach? That's so cute.
I'll send you the video clip now that Katie's getting for us.
It's shocking that that photo even exists.
Yeah. And even more shocking, it showed up where it showed up.
That's so funny. It's really funny. He's on the beach. I'll suffice to say.
With a seaweed hairdo and
So
a
who
grand.
got that up there?
Sunglasses.
The researcher got it from my family.
It's very cute.
Yeah.
All right, I had
You make a good-looking girl
In fact,
from the
you
back
just
of the
said
room.
it's very cute, just adds
Oh, yeah.
to get coconuts.
No, but it had a St. Albans Messenger newspaper in my lap.
It's very cute.
Yeah. I think that's why it got chosen. Made me a Franklin boy.
Didn't say the county courier. They take it all around the world, every
Oh,
week.
right.
Well, that's what this was done for.
Yeah. That's so funny. Okay. So,
So I think we're good.
do we need a motion?
I don't think we would.
Last time you had it voted on 4-1, so I think let's do it again.
Not
You
for
can have a
No.
4-1, there are only 4 voters.
I
All
understand.
right, I'll make a motion to approve our, how do we want to say it?
Recommendation to
This recommendation on school choice to the Supervisory Union Board and local boards.
Hey, Connie, here's your opportunity.
Need a second?
I don't think she seconded it.
There are 4 of us here.
That's right. Bob's the chair, right?
chair.
So it's up to
1,
you.
2, 3, 4.
I
Chair.
said, here's your opportunity.
Chairs break ties.
Right.
Are you asking for a vote? Is that what you
I'm
said?
asking for a second to
It's a
Jason's
small
motion.
board, you don't have to have seconds.
Oh, you don't?
Where'd that come out of?
Well,
Robert's
actually,
Rules of
that's
Order.
Robert's rules.
A
So.
small board?
That's
A
A
small
small
board.
board is you turn to be 3, I
May-
believe.
No, it's 11.
No,
Anything
5.
less than 11. No, it's anything less than 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll cut down on
I would feel better with a second.
I would too, especially I got it already written up here.
Yeah.
to dance off between
A stare down going on here.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, vote on it, and then go back and see if you can get a second.
There you go.
I'll tell you what, Connie,
Well,
I'll second it and you vote for it.
Oh, wow, there's a deal.
no, that's not a deal.
All right, then.
Well, I mean, that,
No, but we need a strong show of
you
support.
can second, the chair can
We
second.
we need a strong show of support on this. We really do. Put behind us some of our inadequacies and
And I don't disagree with that. I don't. I truly
I'm
don't.
going to second it and take a chance that she'll see the light.
It's choice is not a bad thing. Okay. I have concerns
It's a work in
about
progress,
how it's going
Bonnie. It's a
to
work in
affect the
progress.
school that I represent.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
and creating a list of these things after we've had more than one conversation, and that has to be, and that's what we're going to do. I just want to give it due justice. That's all.
Let me just put this in. If this were the difference between the state board merging all our school districts and stomaching something that might not be totally palatable, how would you vote?
I don't think I have to answer that question.
Okay.
I don't think I have to. Well, I don't. I don't. Just vote.
And my observation on this is that this is just a recommendation to the supervisory union board, who will ultimately have final say, as well as the local boards. So your local board will have the opportunity to.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Which comes first? Local board discussion and then
Local board?
Okay.
Do all the local boards meet before the SU
Yep.
meeting?
No.
In November? No.
No, in November, in December.
Oh,
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't we want to have some discussion of this
This is-
Wednesday?
We will. But we won't, this will be like first reading on a policy.
Okay.
okay.
Here's where we are. We're going back to the local boards, come back to you in December for a final decision.
Okay.
So with that, is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed?
If it's going to have local board, and that's,
Bob, could you vote on this too?
I vote affirmative, aye.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Can I have Toby's vote?
Oh, yes, you can, because he gave it to you.
Yeah, then let's say Toby voted
Makes
for
sense to
it
me.
Okay,
with the transportation. I think that's really important.
all right. So what Terry and I'll do is we'll edit this into the report with these criteria. Yeah, Katie, you got to. You bring us chocolate.
I'm going. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That Katie brought at Christmas.
That's right. So can we spend a little bit of time on Jay's epistle here?
Well, depends. How much time for that epistle? It's scaring you a little.
Well,
did we get two of those? If I misplaced one?
So what's the other big point we have to do tonight?
We have to talk about what we're going to do about the final report, what goes into it, who's going to do it, all those kinds of things. We have to talk
We have
about
two of these?
the element, how we're going to present to the
No.
union.
Just
I mean, to the
it was
union
2
board
pages.
I got,
on the 15th. That's 2 days. Who's going to do it? How you're going to do it?
yeah, there's only one page.
you can take a copy of these and edit it any way you want.
Already did.
But I don't know that it emphasizes the elementary schools participating in it.
Oh, that's not the same thing.
Okay, I see what you're
Oh, that
I
is
changed
two,
it.
it is 250.
Oh, you did? You got elementary in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be a fine.
That's what
Yeah,
Is it
that's-
If you
hospital?
get another copy of the 2 pages.
It's only one.
Well, you gave me a page which is different than what she has.
And it's the second page.
I think there's 2 pages
Yeah.
because this is like,
Oh, mine's on the back. No,
Yes,
mine's-
you're right.
you have 2 top pages.
I would like to just add something. I think we can do this, but when you're going to be leaving at 7:30, right?
7:15.
Oh, 7:15. And I think we need to accomplish some of the stuff that needs your decision before 7:15, such as the report, such as the, I'm just wondering if we don't need
Well,
to
maybe
do some of the other things
table that
first.
for now, and we'll do the logistics and get those done.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So let's talk about the report and what needs to happen with that. Can I tell you all some feedback we got at our Swanton meeting? And I thought it was really good feedback. And Don, you probably know this too from you being on the board. And that is one of our citizens in Swanton, who's very connected with state government, suggested that the way we frame this, we need to be really persuasive, that we need to say how Act 46 is a wonderful thing and what it did for us going through all these, you know, the What would you call what we went through? The activities.
Self-assessment?
Yes.
Catharsis. Or wasn't on TV, I don't know.
You left it open, Jerry. I had to walk in.
That's perfect. So the experience has been just wonderful, and that we've learned so much, what we learned, why we're going to be better. But then she said, you really have to make a case for why we're different, why this way is better, why us staying the same is better. And I think we've made a case for why we don't need to merge to stay good, but I don't think we've made a case for why this is better.
That'll help you
That'll help us, but
tremendously. That's going to help you a lot.
I think we can make the case because we're just going to be really clear that we are a small rural area. We've already merged with our schools. We've asked for people's input. It's really strong with the rural and the blah, blah. Somehow we need to say some of that kind of stuff about why this is better.
The language that I put in this version,
Okay.
it spells out how we're so unique compared to other areas of the state and the circumstances that exist around us.
Perfect. Okay.
So we're in a really enviable position if we go through with this.
Okay. Good. That would help. Did anyone have any other ideas?
I want to come back to something I think you were starting with. Before Act 46 was passed, it's been around for about 6 years, I think, this discussion, maybe longer. A lot of it was trying to force a discussion where school districts did a self-examination on just how good were they doing and were they meeting the needs of all kids. And certainly that's driven the decision here.
It's very well said.
I mean, topics have been discussed, and I think decisions have been made on my short time here on the board that never would have happened without Act 46.
That's right.
And I think some way we need to communicate that.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah.
Well, I think that just goes back to the 5 goals. Whether it's Act 46 or not, those are just what all schools ought to be talking about all the time.
I'll bite my tongue, but like Don says, some of the things that this committee has discussed would never have happened if it wasn't for that law. And I'll bite my tongue for saying this, but this was actually fun coming up with this.
I like it.
It's a weird sort of way.
In a weird sort of way, yeah. It's been kind of fun, hasn't it?
It instills some creativity to be able to, not to game the system, but to be able to respond to the criteria.
This is going to I think this is going to knock the AOB socks off.
Okay. So who all wants to do that? So I don't mind taking a pass again at the, trying to integrate, or you can too, Jay, on the report, trying to clean it up, shorten it, make another report that's for the board or something. I don't know, maybe, I think the SU should be the same as the board, shouldn't it?
Meaning?
I'm sorry, what I mean is the report, the way we present to the Supervisory Union Board shouldn't be that much different than the way we report to the state board.
It's great practice run.
That's what I'm thinking. We got to make a case. I would think that the union board should be as strict as the state board.
Right. Oh.
They should be, if they're thinking about all those goals and the best needs of the...
I think the significant difference would be the state board is far more knowledgeable about all the ins and outs than the SU board does.
And the rest of the state.
Or me.
Okay.
But nonetheless...
Well, that will not be done by this November meeting.
No.
So maybe we can talk about that report that we'll get started on, and we'll continue to send it around if we can do that individually. And then, though, how are you all going to present on the 15th to the Supervisory Union Board?
So I think 15th, being that it's 2 days from now, we're going to be presenting the latest draft with the additions that we've made, and letting them know that it's not the final draft of the report, and that we will be pulling that together for the December meeting.
Let me throw this in. It's possible the state board may want this for the preceding month prior to the January decision-making month. Don, do you know state board's cycle of meetings? Well, actually, no, it should be okay because we're going to be meeting on December 6th. And
I think you're fine, and I'm trying to think, quite often the January meeting has been pretty much focused on legislation, meeting with legislators, and so it's been somewhat of an abbreviated meeting. But that doesn't mean that this wouldn't be a priority.
Well, I'm trying to think if they need it.
Don't they meet the 3rd? I think if we get this done by the 15th of December, we're all right. I believe.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see it done by December 6th, the final presentation
I
to the
do,
SU
and then,
board.
but
I mean, really what we're talking about is adding in our vote totals, and if we incorporate some of Jay's language, I mean, are you thinking, toward the beginning as a bit of a preface for that persuasive piece right off the bat?
Yeah, I think our beginning reiterates to them everything they know. I think we need to be much more persuasive about. I think that we need different. Like, it was important for us to put this all down to educate people, but I think we need to change the report for the board, the state board, and your union board to some extent. I mean, not totally.
Oh, they don't have a date in December.
Who don't?
State board.
Oh, they don't have a date?
No, but they have been meeting like the 3rd week, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, they usually meet the 3rd week.
Yeah, because the October 18, November 15, and December to be decided, but January 17. So I think we're fine.
If I can make a suggestion for when you meet with the board on the 15th, we've already gone over a lot of the proposal with them about why we came up with what we did and those 5 goals, etc. I think what has changed is the vote and this school choice piece. I'm not sure what else has changed since the last time we were there.
I think adding in the language, if we incorporate and vote to incorporate Jay's bit on the foreign exchange student, that's also a change.
Right, that's what I meant by this school choice, by these pieces.
This is important.
Yes, that's what I meant. I think that this is what you want to spend your time with. What's down, what we talked about tonight and here. And we can spend some time with Jay going over some of this before that. And I would recommend that you use your chair of your committee to do that. Or his designee, yeah.
Okay. So who's going to present on Wednesday to the SU board?
I guess on Uni.
Okay.
November 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I have a long-standing commitment that I'm not going to be there.
Okay.
Where is it again, this Wednesday?
It's in Franklin.
In Franklin.
I'll be there the next night
Okay.
in Franklin.
Yep.
I can go if you want, just to be there. Want some support.
Always welcome to have you there.
So,
At what time?
Our meetings are at 6:30.
what do you,
The SU meetings.
7. Let me think. We're talking SU 6:30. Yep.
well, how much time do you have for giving them the report? I'm just wondering, what will they want to know?
Let me look.
If you're on the agenda, how long are you on for?
It's not first thing, I don't think. Let me look. I prepared 4 agendas last week, so I don't exactly remember. Oh, the auditor is in first thing, so this discussion isn't going to happen until 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Those meetings.
I might leave you to the wolves and not be there if it doesn't happen tonight.
And it could be a little bit later because
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty simple presentation. Not much has changed other
That's-
than
That's what it sounds like.
kind of a bit of a debriefing on the votes for everyone's edification, plus whenever we opt on this.
If I put anything together for this report between now and then, I'll send it to you. Probably it'll be Wednesday afternoon if that's okay.
That's fine.
When I'll have a chance to
I
work
got a chance
on it.
to peruse it before the meeting.
Okay. All right.
What else do we need to accomplish? I think we're good for now, are we?
think
Except
you
for we
are.
want Jay to go over this
Yeah.
with us.
Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, great, thanks. Jay, you're up.
Well, I sent this to several of you guys. My original thought was to do this based mostly on MBU, but after speaking with a few folks in the school systems, they started looking at this and said, hey, we want to be included in this too. So the elementary schools could benefit as well. So what I've gotten for you now is a modified version of what I had sent Winton, which includes language that emphasizes more to a more degree the elementary schools as well. What this does is this connects a bunch of links in a chain. We know that student enrollment is declining everywhere, but what I was amazed to find out is that as bad as we are in the state of Vermont, where it's worse than our neighbors, in our Canadian neighbors and our New York neighbors, and in fact in here, 8 of the worst per pupil costs are in the northeastern part of the state of New York. Okay, so that's just across the lake from us. 8 of the 10 worst spending school districts. And so,
In New York or in the United
New York,
States?
just in New York State alone, 8 of the highest spending school districts are just across the lake. So that's really close to us. That's a financial market for us. Same thing with Quebec. Quebec's cost to students, as you'll see in your statistics, it's unbelievable how much. They dropped from 1.05 million students down to 983 students. So that's a pretty significant drop. Their increased per pupil cost is to over 22%. So what this does is this gives you a preliminary analysis of what our neighbors in our neighboring states are facing. But it gives us a real opportunity here, especially when we look at to emphasize both the elementary schools and Missisquoi. There are some things that are going on in Missisquoi that are key. The pre-college courses that are here. When I first started looking into this, I didn't realize that a student could actually take courses here that could basically give them 1 year of college courses before they even get there. That's something that's marketable. Where you could actually get a student from New York or from Canada come in and attend school at MBU and get a whole year of college credit before they even leave this school.
Do you mean because of the AP courses, and if they pass them, they get the credit for them?
Well, that's too. This is the early college program. There's 3 in here. There's the Introduction to College Studies. There's the dual enrollment, Vermont Flexibility Pathways program, and then the one that really struck me was the early college program referred to as ECP. So, or it says here, students are given the opportunity to access 2 pre-college level courses during the junior senior year of high school. But the ECP offers Missisquoi Union High School seniors early admission to Vermont State Colleges and the University of Vermont, providing whole year college level classes. That's pretty amazing. So if you're looking at a foreign student coming in... Yeah, don't get mixed up with early childhood programs, which is also ECP.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at a foreign student coming in... Oh, by the way, foreign students don't like the word college. They like university.
It's a class thing.
They don't like the word college. That's why Castleton University emerged, and that's why Northern Vermont University emerged.
And so University.
What's going to happen when the state AOE looks at this? They're going to say, okay, Jeb Spalding down there is trying to recruit foreign students, and like you said, they merged, and I'm thinking, well, gee, if MVU if we put something like this in our AGS, then what this is going to do is send a message to the state that we're laying down a strategy where we can actually become a feeder program for foreign exchange students, for out-of-state students, to attract them to come to the state and bring who knows how many millions of dollars to the coffers. It serves as a new stream for us, and it's sitting right in front of us. That's the thing that really surprised me. It's sitting right in front of us for us to grab.
I want to interrupt just a minute. What's happening with the China thing? I know
It's still happening. We had
somebody represent us or speak for
we have
us.
sister schools there. Just to put this into perspective, and you're glad you brought that up, Don. There are 328,547 Chinese students studying in the United States right now. 1,700 of them come to Vermont schools. Okay, those 1,700 students generated $75 million in revenue to Vermont.
$75 million in revenue.
Where's this going on?
Right here in Vermont.
But where in Vermont?
St. J. Academy.
Various schools, the University of Vermont's got, as it says here, University of Vermont, Chinese students jumped from 387 to 822 students.
Okay, so we're not talking just high school, we're talking
Well, there are some
students.
high school kids up in
Yeah.
St. J. Academy, I'm sure.
Northfield,
And so-
Fairfax.
That's $40 million more revenue coming in over the last 4 years.
And there's the group, I can't think of the guy's name, he's contacted me a couple times, Ben somebody. He has a statewide thing where they want to bring kids in and have people take them in and they get paid
I mean, this is,
$20,000 for housing and
And-
meals.
Yeah, that's
The other-
that's what I'm looking at
That's
here.
what you're looking at.
It's Spiral International.
the other thing about this is that
Taylor.
there isn't another school district that's even come close to trying something, was it Bethel? Where I got the idea to begin with, on
Cabot?
Cabot, that's it. This is
Well, watch out with Taylor.
this
I
is
know anybody
way,
that comes from there.
this is
Good
way
stuff.
beyond.
But
This
it's
goes
fun.
way beyond just a simple school student, poor student.
This is good stuff, no matter what happens with our others. I mean, this is,
So when the state looks at this, they're going to say, geez, what do we do? Do we say, no, we're not going to approve your AGS, or would we like to see if this is going to work? So
maybe they'll send us to New York or Quebec and say merge with them. We
well,
may have opened the door here.
when you look at things, when you look at,
I think you should be
I mean, I was dumbfounded by the actual data that I was able to find on this. Just Quebec alone, they went from 11.3 billion to 12.9 billion dollars, a 14% increase in spending in 1 year.
Why would they send their kids here when they have a problem with their funding? It would seem to me that they would not let their kids leave.
Well, it's all part of a marketing plan. If you have schools that are not merging in Canada, then there's an option for them to consider sending their kids to a U.S. school right across the border.
Oh, I see. So
I mean,
towns that have choice.
Montgomery, for goodness sake, sends their kids to Canadian schools, and the state's complaining about it. So I think that they would say that this would be great instead of our kids being recruited from Canadian schools, and we'll do a little bit of the same to them. You know,
So Canada has some of that choice too, where those towns can choose where their kids go?
Yeah, I think it would cause a very interesting discussion, regardless of.
Well, I think it'd be important to know if they have that. I mean,
Well,
otherwise it's a moot point. They're not going to
There's
send
some
their...
additional research.
well, there are some. I have discovered there are some Canadian schools that have very flexible opportunities for their kids to seek opportunities or educational opportunities elsewhere. Some of them are in the United States, but they're kind of controversial. But they're approved on an individual basis. But
Forget, we're pitching this not only to school districts in, say, New York or Quebec, but to families.
yeah,
I mean, the Chinese government is not saying to people, come to, well, maybe they are saying, come to the United States. The families are saying, we have the wealth, we have the wherewithal, we're going to send our children. Now, if you aspire to have maybe one of your students go to a New England college, what better than to get them into a New England high school and graduate from a New England high school?
boy, you get 1 year of college for free at MBU.
I guess all I'm saying is
But
that
to get back to your point about whether they have choice in Canada, when it comes down to it, what you're doing is you're offering a financial option. So if the school district is looking at spending millions and millions of dollars, then your marketing plan could say, you know what, we might have a solution for you that financially it would be more economical for you to do it, and if we can provide you with the same quality of education that your children are receiving
Gotcha.
right now.
Right.
So it's all part of marketing.
But it's not just marketing, it's also legalities. I mean,
There are
you know,
some
if
legalities.
education's free, I mean, we have this whole thing with
Yeah.
where our dollars go, and I'm sure the state of New York has some. Will the state of New York put their dollars? All I'm saying is it's wonderful, but will it work? Is there, I mean, I know China, okay, we've got some overseas
I
ones.
can tell you that the Chinese students.
Right, I can see where that would be, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about, like,
think
people
there's
in New
arrangements
York, are they
with,
allowed to come here?
Well,
We'll find out.
you
Well,
see,
I'm going to
that's-
tell you, I think they are because there's an agreement with the Vermont students from Albert going to Champlain. New
Right,
York,
I know there's lots that go
And
over.
down in southwestern Vermont, into
Yeah.
Granville, so I think that is a...
They have New Yorkers coming over here?
No, we
I've
have
never heard
one
that.
No,
Well,
but I
listen.
think, I believe that option is on the table.
That Vermont students go to New York.
Right, but I have never heard of a New York student coming to Vermont.
Well, if you read,
No, but I'm just saying, I believe that the agreement would be that they could. I'm not saying they are. Mount Anthony may have some. Mount Anthony High School back.
So in the proposal, it says, therefore, one of the charges of this team is to conduct a comprehensive research.
Where are you, Jay?
I'm on the first page, second to the last paragraph.
Okay.
It says, therefore, one of the charges of this team is to conduct a comprehensive research identifying lucrative educational options and investing in the development of a plan designed to create a new student acceptance program. So what you're doing is you're going to invest in research to develop a plan, a marketing plan, in order to, and when you do that research, that's when you'll be able to find out whether you can or you can't make that possible for New York students or for Quebec students. So what this is just a suggestion to invest in the time and the effort to develop a business plan to see if you can make an offer to New York and Canadian schools.
I guess where I was coming at, Bryce,
Yep.
if we're going in here like this is what's going to really get us this approval.
This is not going to approval.
What?
This is not going to get us.
Well, I think Jay was saying it's a big piece that will get us the approval.
If this is a big piece that gets us approval, that seems
I think
to not give credence to all the other things that have to do with.
specifically the goals.
I would think this is kind of, I think this is good to have. And I think it could eventually be critical because people are always looking for new, out-of-the-box thinking. But I would say it's as significant as some of the other things that we've done, many other things we've talked about. But I think it's a nice addition, and I think it's going to make a stronger case because I think it shows that people here are really thinking about.
Let me
I'd say buy every kid a computer and close the schools and just let them do that.
Let me rephrase my enthusiasm for this. I think this is going to get the AOE's attention.
Oh, I do too. I agree with you. I think it'll lead to a pretty good discussion.
I'm not dissing it at all. I think it's great. I'm just saying, if we're going to say it, I just thought it would be really important to have meat behind it. Like, we know that New York can send people. We know that Canada can send people.
Well, there's a certain amount of this that you're not going to find out until you do the in-depth research that this is recommending.
The New York thing wouldn't be that hard to do because
that's what I'm saying.
we
You're
said
gonna
that
have a
way.
couple
I
of
think
phone calls?
we have a reciprocity agreement, but you have to find out.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they have to, but I believe they can.
But just because it's never been tried before doesn't mean it can't be done.
But I think you might find that kids have come into Mount Anthony.
Just think of that.
And so we're good about trying things that we've never done before. Look at the structure of this building.
Yeah.
No, I think this should be a piece. I'm not saying it should be the cornerstone. I think it should
Okay,
be a
yeah, that's what I was
No,
just
I didn't mean to make it be the cure-all or the predominant argument for approving our AGS. It's just another thing to add to the things that we're putting in there that enhances our AGS. That is, and the other thing, I think it's significant because it's never been tried before.
I should send each of you an email I got this week from a friend that talks about the world we live in, and it talks about, the largest taxi company in the world is Uber. They don't own any taxis. The largest hotel chain is Airbnb, owning hotels. And it talks about education in undeveloped countries where they aren't even thinking about building schools, but with computer knowledge. And, I talked with my grandkids. The other night we were out to dinner, and we were talking about the World Series because I'm a Dodger fan. Of course, I watched the pool and the Astros. And my grandson said, well, the Astros have been in the World Series once. And I said, yeah, 2005, they got swept by the White Sox. Of course, he didn't believe that I could just pull that off. Within 30 seconds, he had it all right there. He didn't need a teacher to tell him how to take and research it. It's like, it gets scary, folks, when you look at the next 25 years. So, anyway, I'm getting you really off topic.
So, okay.
I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
All right.
Are we good?
Good.
I said good.
I think the school choice is going to be a really great discussion.
It's going to be a good discussion. I think this is good to show the Department of Ed when we do propose and present to them that it's one way we're thinking of addressing declining enrollment and acknowledging that as
And
an
we don't
issue.
have the big decline in a lot of places, do we?
We don't, but it's more
But
proactive.
MVU is
Yeah, MVU has
having,
something.
MVU's
Yeah.
decline is pretty
You do
significant.
realize
It's
that
become significant.
UVM is MVU back.
Yes.
I do, because I used to always get them confused when I first moved
Somebody
here.
needs to figure out what's going on, because
I do.
I don't think, your school isn't down in numbers, is it? That significantly in the last 5 years?
We've been pretty steady, you know, plus or minus 300. Preschool helps us.
But even looking at the K
Down,
through
Franklin
6, really.
Down slightly, but we've come up
Yeah.
over the course of the year. We had 3 new families move in, which has brought our numbers almost back to where we.
Sheldon, have they held steady?
Very steady.
And Swanton too.
Franklin's losing their smallest 5th and 6th grade class next year, so they're being replaced with
You know, when you have school choice high school, oh, that's a big attraction to a lot of people.
Okay, so are we good? You're going to take the SU.
I'll take the SU piece of it, the presentation on Wednesday.
I'm going to start with some of the report going on.
So we need a motion to approve incorporating this into the report as a piece of it.
Can I ask another clarifying question? So after reading your second paragraph, I wrote in the margin cost to create this team, and so the greater question there is, can we spend education dollars to do this?
I deliberately didn't put cost in here for a couple of reasons. First of all, it would be contingent upon the board's agreeing to do expending any money on this. So assuming there's carryover money at your budgets and things, that could be a decision to be made later. But I do know that there's a couple grants that are available to do this.
Okay, so,
And I can give you-
spending leftover money would require an assurance that's one of the legal ways to use that money.
That would be, that I would recommend be an SU decision, possibly,
I think you'd have to put it, I think you'd have to have it a separate article
separate.
and let your voters decide.
Well, I wouldn't get too deep into the money part.
But I don't think you need
Oh,
to do
no,
that.
no, I'm not going to get too deep into it.
But eventually,
And,
I know of at least 3 sources that could provide financing to do this.
well, and that's good, and that would be a good alternative, because I do have, I would have concerns spending tax dollars on coming up with programs that bring kids from other countries to, when it could be probably well used spending it on
I
our
would
own
rather
kids.
do it with grant money as opposed to
Yeah.
taxing a local school board.
Yeah.
But I know of at least 3 sources, and I can
Okay.
find out more.
Can I ask you a question in terms of moving on to 2 other things? And that is, I really hope that you have some time to proofread the report.
I have done it,
Yes.
and I'll do it again,
Okay, good.
and we need to sit and chat.
And really slack it. I mean, really slash it, because we can't, we got to put in the pertinent stuff. Then the other thing is, how do you all perceive we're going to be going to the state board? Who's going to be doing that? Is that going to be Wynn? Is that going to be Bob? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
I don't know if we have any specifics on how those presentations are being made.
Are those on, do they record those for public?
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be good to get one to look and see how it's
you
done.
can get them, they're available. They're available. In fact, they used to play them on public access TV. So check with 10, 15, or 16, whichever one it is, and see if they, I think for
I think probably the Franklin Northeast one was.
should be.
No, yeah,
That's a good idea to get.
But it's a good question about what does it look like?
I would think, just from having been on the other end of it,
Yeah.
I would think it should be Bob as the chair of the committee. It should be Wynn as the superintendent, but he should not be the lead dog. He's the superintendent of this. And it should probably be one other board member or you as the facilitator. And it might even be 4 of you, but usually it's never more than 3 or 4 people that come and present. But usually it's not just one person either. I think they'd like to see that, I think they'd like to check and see if it's a different opinion by the people who showed up.
Interesting,
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, you sit there thinking, okay, that person just said something that didn't quite correlate with what the first speaker said. So then you say, so I would think maybe you, Wynn, you, and one other person.
I wouldn't look for the state board to make a decision that day either. You're going to take.
That,
It's
yeah.
been interesting, the state board has challenged some of the recommendations that have been coming. I had a couple of meetings at the SBA.
You mean people not choosing to merge, people choosing to?
Well, there was one little incident down in Marlboro. You have to know Marlboro. I was assistant superintendent there. They're quite different. We are on campus. They're nice people. They have a culture.
Unique situation.
Unique, yeah. But very nice people. The ones I know are very nice people.
Wyndham
I
Southeast
certainly-
is having a terrible time.
Yeah, they are too.
So,
I certainly would want to play to the strengths of the committee here, and I know we have at least one member on the committee who does a lot of public speaking, is really good at it.
Yes.
If he'd be willing
He
to-
does.
yeah, good point.
He does.
I
Yeah.
would certainly appreciate,
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. And, well, I guess I don't know what the state board expects or what they require for that. It's just,
That's why you should check and get a couple of those videos.
Yeah,
I agree, that's a
that
great
would be
idea.
good. But I guess I was under the assumption, I'm not exactly sure why, but that our committee would present it as a group, which seemed reasonable to me, but.
I think that might be too much. Check with Wim, but get one of those videos out of, see if there's, I know you can get them, you can even call the agency of Ed.
That's a great,
Or
they might even have
call
one
Franklin
online.
Northeast probably has theirs. They probably have theirs.
may
Yeah.
even be available on
You just
YouTube.
break one of those.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, in my mind, the more we have, the better off we are.
Right.
I would lean toward that.
Well, I'm planning on attending that meeting. Not that I'm planning on
No.
speaking, but if the opportunity
Well,
arises.
I don't think anyone ever doubted that, Jay. I know I did.
I just think,
You'll be there before anybody.
I just think when the chair of the state board calls people up, get a sense of who goes up and what. I haven't been on the state board now for 5 or 6 years, so it could have changed with the current players. But get a sense of who goes up. But I think you'll find it'll be 3 or 4 people. They'll all have a specific role or specific section.
Yeah, well, I mean, they must give districts some type of protocol, don't they? I mean, other ones that went in with 706 merger plans, I mean,
Well, remember
they had to
that
follow some type of protocol.
The state board is a duly appointed public body, so they're going to have
They
to
don't have
follow
much of a
Robert's Rules of Order.
They may
and that
have.
sort
It
of thing.
depends who the chair is. The
Yeah.
chair sets a tone. Stephen Morse, who was a chair during my tenure, he really ran it like, this is the way it is, I'm the chair, because he's done public service board and a lot of things.
Yeah.
Some of the others are a little loosey-goosey. I think that getting the video would be really
I think that's a great idea about the video. So, anything else?
Margaret and Payne can help you out with that.
Okay,
We did good, we did well.
we're done. Move to
So do you need a
adjourn.
motion or anything to adjourn?
I just got one.
Good.
I'll second it.
It's good to have a second on that. All in favor?
Thank you,
I should
Connie.
write that down. I'll write that
I'm going
down.
to show Don and Connie pulled the agenda item.
Are you thinking about putting this in next time?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.
Who, okay, you first did, who seconded?
It was Don and then
Connie?
Connie.
Okay.
did the second.